Welcome back to CIA Declassified, the broadcast that analyzes the origins of the most highly contested and ethically dubious projects in intelligence history. Today we're moving to the 0 point, the formal inception of U.S. mind control research. We are investigating Project BLUEBIRD, which operated concurrently with and slightly predated some aspects of Project Artichoke. It was the crucial first step that formalized the CIA's deep dive into personality modification. Our primary focus is the foundational authorization document CIA RDP 50 00001R 00010001001-1. This file is a strategic assessment dated early 1950 that moved the concept of brainwashing from theoretical fear to active research program. The post-World War II period was dominated by deep psychological warfare anxiety. Reports on hypnosis, conditioning, and drug use by Soviet and Chinese intelligence fueled a desperate need to catch up. BLUEBIRD was the institutional response centered around a single chilling question: can we create an operative who can perform a sensitive, violent act upon command and then have zero recollection, thus protecting the agency from exposure? The strategic objective was explicitly the creation of a deniable asset. BLUEBIRD was tasked with exploring the limits of hypnotic command and induced psychological disassociation to achieve this. The analysis focuses on three primary areas: the formal definition of total psychological distance, the methods used to induce personality split, and the early experimental success rate in achieving post-hypnotic amnesia. Let's examine the specific techniques authorized and tested under Project BLUEBIRD. Unlike Artichoke, which quickly moved to large-scale chemical abuse, BLUEBIRD was initially a highly focused, almost purely psychological investigation into the boundaries of hypnosis. The methodology relied heavily on the use of deep-level hypnosis combined with pharmacological aids like sodium amytal, a barbiturate often used as a truth serum, to lower the subject's psychological defenses and increase suggestibility. Induced dissociation. The core goal was to create a personality split. Researchers used repetitive commands under DLH, often over extended sessions lasting days, to convince the subject that an alternate persona existed solely to carry out specific, difficult, or violent commands. The subject's conscious, everyday mind was the primary persona. Total psychological distance. This is the key concept from the file. TPD was the measure of success. The AP had to operate without the PP retaining any memory, more accountability, or emotional connection to the action. The operative was designed to have a blank, plausible alibi. The documents describe tests involving subjects carrying out highly complex scenarios like finding hidden objects or delivering scripted messages only to be questioned moments later under controlled conditions. Chemical reinforcement. Sodium amytal and similar compounds were used primarily to facilitate entry into the deep trance state, not for long-term behavioral chaos. That came later in Project Artichoke. The drugs simply acted as a psychological lubricant, reducing the conscious mind's natural resistance to suggestion. The aim was not to break the mind, but to compartmentalize it, to install a safe within a safe where the agency could store operational code. This is the precise psychological foundation of the Manchurian candidate archetype. Here's a quote from CIA RDP 50 assessment from 1950. Quote, experimental results indicate that utilizing deep-level hypnosis combined with pharmacological intervention, a subject can be successfully programmed to execute a non-critical operational task, and upon return to the primary persona, demonstrate TPD, total psychological distance, from the act, passing standard lie detection protocols, end quote. And another quote from a progress memo: the critical variable remains the stress threshold of the AP. Can the alternate persona withstand the emotional and neurological burden of a lethal terminal action without leaking into the PP, which would compromise the asset? End quote. The focus was now on establishing a reliable methodology for creating a psychological sleeper agent. Project BLUEBIRD was ultimately folded into the later, larger, and more chaotic Project Artichoke because the researchers discovered fundamental limitations to purely hypnotic command. While subjects could successfully carry out complex, non-critical tasks, the psychological distance failed when faced with commands involving lethal violence or extreme moral violation. The human psyche, even when fragmented, resisted terminal self-destruction or the murder of another without retaining some form of residual trauma or memory leakage. The durability problem. The post-hypnotic amnesia, while effective immediately, proved fragile. Simple stress or environmental cues could break the TPD, allowing the terrifying actions of the AP to bleed into the PP, leading to unpredictable breakdowns. The chemical escalation. It was the failure of pure hypnosis to maintain TPD under duress that drove the researchers to the more destructive high-dose chemical cocktail approach seen in Project Artichoke. The logic shifted from subtle partitioning to brutal demolition. If the mind cannot be reliably partitioned, it must be completely shattered and rebuilt. LSD became the preferred tool because it achieved a level of neurological disorientation that barbiturates alone could not match. Thus, Project Bluebird served as the crucial early experimental phase. It proved the theoretical potential for compartmentalization but revealed its limitations, paving the way for the ethical train wreck that was Project Artichoke. It was the research into the failure of TPD that led to the decision to use high-dose psychedelics to simply obliterate the memory barrier rather than subtly circumvent it. The psychological damage from these early experiments was substantial, providing the initial painful catalog of human subjects whose lives were irrevocably destroyed in the pursuit of the perfect deniable operative. We conclude our analysis of the foundational authorization files linked to Project Bluebird. This program was the moment that the CIA formally began its research into creating a programmable, deniable human weapon, providing the crucial, terrifying blueprint for everything that followed. The implications are clear. The desire to control the opponent's mind rapidly escalated into a desire to control one's own agent, sacrificing human subjects for institutional expediency. If this documented truth has opened your mind and reinforced your determination to understand the world as it truly operates, we rely on your support. First, like the episode and leave us a detailed 5-star review wherever you listen. This is how the analysis exposes the deeper strategic agendas. Second, share this episode with someone obsessed with cognitive psychology, early Cold War history, or the origins of the Manchurian Candidate. Now, a programming note for our listeners. Our next episode will take an unexpected turn, moving away from the known mind control programs and into a highly unusual, heavily redacted, but persistent thread within CIA archives that touches on the intersection of strategic intelligence and unexplained biological phenomenon. We will analyze the files linked to CIA files RDP-88, the Tatzel Worm, a bizarre multi-decade dossier concerning unidentified biological entities, specifically reports concerning a large serpent-like creature of European folklore allegedly sighted in high-altitude zones. For our next investigation, we'll dissect CIA document RDP-88 00216R 000 5001-30005-9, a file concerning high-altitude biological survey and threat assessment. Why did the CIA dedicate resources to tracking a folkloric creature? What did the field reports detail regarding the unexplained biological signatures? And what does this reveal about the agency's surprising willingness to formally investigate reports that exist entirely outside conventional scientific consensus, classifying them under the designation Tatzel Worm? Tune in for the next episode, CIA Declassified Tatzel Worm High-Altitude Biological Mysteries. Until then, remember, maintain your vigilance, question the boundaries of belief, and keep your critical thinking sharp. I'll see you in the archives.